Hey folks, Post here, welcome back to another Pokemon Masters video, and today, we're going to get into another speculation video. I don't really do these like that often, but, the other day I did hear a interesting point, from Mini Emerald, obviously the data miner for, Masters, right, on the Reddit Discord server, and it made a quite, I would say, astute observation in terms of how they have been releasing these Pokefair band reruns, because like when you look at it, right, they first released the Pokefairs, I think they were first in January, right? January we got Cynthia and Lance at the same time, and then Steven was in February-ish, right? And then Red or Signature Red was late February, early March, right? So when you look at that, they don't really have that kind of, there really isn't much of a pattern in terms of when they release those. But you did point out that, and again, this is a bit off. It's not like, it's not definitive of anything, but it's been pretty interesting how they've been re-releasing these Pokefairs, right? So they first re-released Cynthia. That was the first one that got a rerun. Cynthia was the first one that got a rerun, and then Steven, right? So the only two that haven't gotten any reruns have been Red and or Signature Red, I guess. Signature Red and Lance, right? And if you look at how they reran them, right? Cynthia and Garchomp, that was in May. Cynthia Garchomp's in May with the grid, right? When it came back, and then right now it's June, and then we got or we are getting, it's in like next week, right? We are getting Steven Stone's banner rerun right after that. So again, we don't have much of sample size. It's only 2, right? But we also have a lot of hints pointing towards Lance being the rerun next month. First of all, the story is kind of moving in that direction where we're about to face Lance and Cynthia's team, so maybe they probably might want to give us Lance first before we get to that that part of the story. And second of all, we also got the new badge or medal system, I guess, and there is a medal in there which does require you to use, like, I think it's 10 hyper beams against black belts, and the only unit that has hyper beam in the game at the moment, right? I mean, like, they could obviously just give us more units with hyper beams, but at the moment the only unit with hyper beam in the game is Lance and Dragonite, which, for those who don't have Lance Dragonite, you could still do the badge, right? You could go in with co-op, someone who has Lance and co-op, and then get it that way. But obviously, that's quite difficult, and I don't think that's like exactly how they intended it to go, right? So that's another sign pointing towards Lance potentially re-releasing. And then the other one is, according to this pattern that, like I mentioned before, that Mini Emerald has pointed out, right? So the Pokemon Masters anniversary is in August, right? It should be at the end of August. Like, it's sort of like end of August, beginning of September, right? That's when the Pokemon Masters first year anniversary should be. And we are 3 months away from that, right? Last month we were, obviously, 4 months away. Next month we are 2 months away, right? Basic math, right, about how months work. And it's quite interesting that when we were 4 months away from the anniversary, we got a rerun of the Pokefair banner with the Gen 4 champion, Cynthia, right? And when we're 3 months away from the anniversary, we got a rerun of the Gen 3 champion, or one of the Gen 3 champions, Steven, right? Although Wallace in this game isn't really a champion, sorry, yes, but that's besides the point, right? 4 months before anniversary, we got the Gen 4 champion rerun. 3 months before, we got the Gen 3 champion rerun. So, and the only 2 we have left is the Gen 2 champion, Lance, and Red, which Signature Red, which is technically kind of sort of the Gen 1 champion, but not really, but also kind of a bit, right? Well, at least he's at least a Gen 1 character, right? If you don't want to call him champion, that's fine, right? He's Gen 1 character, Signature Red, right? So maybe, what if it follows that we got Cynthia last month, 4 months before, as a Gen 4 champion. This month we're getting Steven Stone, 3 months before the anniversary. And then next month, 2 months before the anniversary, we get the Gen 2 champion Lance. This is rerun. And then 1 month before the anniversary, or on the month of the anniversary, it depends on when they want to like do the anniversary, because technically like it's like literally I think like 2 days before like September or something. It's like very at the end of the month, right? And then, like 1 month before the anniversary, we get Sigma Suit Red as the rerun. They could release Sigma Suit Red at early August, right? And then have the anniversary at the end of August. So that could be a possibility, right? Again, this isn't any ironclad thing, but again, a lot of things pointing towards Lance potentially having a rerun next month, and obviously we do have the evidence of Cynthia 4 months before, and Steven Stone being 3 months before, right? So that would be perfect in time for the anniversary, and then the anniversary could have then Signasu Blue and Leaf, right, when that eventually does come up as well. I would have to mention that, like, if assuming Signasu Red comes out like at the at the start of August, very very likely what's going to happen there is that we won't get the data mine on the anniversary units but before the banner goes away. So it like the data mine of the banner should be at like at the end of the month, like unless like Sinsu Red is like released at the middle of the month, like kind of where like I guess where Berg would be released like this month, if we're like making a comparison, then maybe we could have that information. But if Red gets like Sinsu Red gets a rerun earlier, then it could be tough, right? And back to Lance, right? We could also potentially get Cynthia soon because of the story, right? Because we're facing Cynthia next round, and we did have leaks of Cynthia's. We did have leaks of Cynthia's models way back in the day, right? When the game first launched. Cynthia was leaked with having Komodo, right? Something like that. Or, well, it wasn't a leak that technically it was a leak that Cynthia was having was going to be with Komodo. It's just that her outfit is basically Komodo's like armor, so very very likely it's going to be Komodo, right? So there's that also to keep in mind as well. So one thing that that we should probably also mention is that like and why I do think this theory does kind of sort of have some credence, even though again it's not like anything like serious, is because like again, like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, in terms of how they were released, right? You would think that if they were just rerunning them in accordance to like when they first came out, right? It would make a lot more sense that we would get maybe Cynthia or Lance as a rerun first, and then we'll next month we'll get, like, for example, 4 months before we get Cynthia, and then 3 months we'll get before we'll get Lance, and then we'll get Steven, then Red, because that's the order of how they release, right? And then that's how their order would be if they were trying to like rerun these banners, because just based on how long they've been away for, right? But apparently not doing that. So this also does kind of lend some credence to that theory, right? So that could be a possibility. So yeah, again, there's that as well. So like I mentioned before, I do think like once we get to that 1 year anniversary, we probably will have the story completed, right? Or not the story completed. Well, I don't think the story is going to be completed, but the whole PML arc of the story is probably going to get completed. This month we face the Elite Four, the Elite Four team, and in the PML before we face the gym leader team in the PML finals, right? The Singsu Alyssa's team with Sabrina and Fantina, and this month we had we faced Singsu Grimsley with Karen and Will, right? And then next month, very likely, we could face Steven, Lance, and potentially Cynthia, or just regular Cynthia, right? In the next one, but very likely it's going to be Signa Suit. And then the month after, we could get the story where we do face Signa Suit, Red, Blue, and Leaf. I would think that would be the semifinals, right? And then at the end, we could in the finals we probably face Lear, if it's according to that, right? But yeah, again, just a theory in terms of how this is gonna go. Also, do keep in mind that if Lance does come back, very, very likely you could get a rerun. Or not a rerun, an expansion in his grid when Lance does get a rerun. So there's that to keep in mind as well. And also this could just potentially be, you know, nothing, and we could be overthinking things, right? But it would make a lot of sense if it does this, you know, go this way. Like, it would make a lot of sense that they rerun all the Pokefair banners that we've had leading up to the 6-month anniversary before the first year anniversary, right? So yeah, also doing in mind next month we are getting, you know, legendary events as well and all that stuff. So it could be, you know, Lance and some other trainers, all that stuff. But yeah, anyways, just a theory. In terms of predictions, my predictions have been good. I'd say 62.49% of the time. So who knows? Anyways, that's me. If there's, I hope you guys enjoy. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Like and enjoy this video, subscribe to my channel for some more Pokemon Masters content. And I'll see you guys in the next one.